Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Fairest of Them All by Carolyn Turgeon. The Fairest of Them All by Carolyn Turgeon follows Rapunzel, who captivates a young prince hunting in the forest. He climbs her long hair to her tower, and Rapunzel is infatuated. He tells her he must return to his kingdom and marry a woman he is forced to marry to save his kingdom from war. Rapunzel hears news of his marriage and the birth of his daughter Snow White, upset and angry that the prince abandoned her. Years later, the prince, now king, returns to Rapunzel to make her his new queen after the mysterious death of his wife. Rapunzel now has the man she loves and the luxury of being queen, but year after year she grows more and more obsessed with her beauty as her body refuses to give the king an heir. Her enchanted mirror always told her she was the fairest in all the land, but the day it tells her that Snow White is the most beautiful is the day Rapunzel must act to secure her own future. This was such an intriguing fairy tale mashup, you guys. So well done. Now, yeah, it's not like the world's greatest literature. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to sit and your life's not going to be changed by this book or anything. Yeah, this book is really just meant to be taken like just really fun. But yeah, the fairy tale mashup of this, wow, so incredibly well done. I went into this book initially kind of thinking to myself, I have a feeling this is going to be rather generic when it comes to fairy tale retellings. There's really only a small handful of books out there that adapt fairy tales in some unique and interesting ways. There's not really too many of them out there, and because for the most part, a lot of times other books are just really generic. And I don't think this was generic at all. I think it was doing some truly unique, fun, original things. And yeah, mashing up the story of Rapunzel and Snow White, you guys. Wow. I did. Once again, I went into this book thinking, I don't know how the hell that's going to work. It sounds like it's going to be a hot mess. I was kind of just envisioning it. I was like, this is going to be a hot mess of a book with plot threads just all over the place and nothing coming cohesively together. But I don't know how Carolyn Turgeon did it, you guys. I have absolutely no idea how she did it. She managed to create a really tight, cohesive story. And the thing is, this book is only what? It's not even 300 pages. It only goes up to like 260 pages, you guys. This book is only like 260 pages, and it uses that time really well, I think. I don't ever think anything is ever wasted. Any story, any character, any subplot or whatever, nothing is ever wasted. Everything really has a nice tight focus that in some way enhances the story, enhances the characters, and all is in the service of binding these two separate stories into one story that absolutely works in a weird sort of way. And Carolyn Turgeon, just such remarkable twists and turns to this narrative that sometimes I didn't entirely see coming. Sometimes I kind of thought I saw something coming, but then she would kind of do something a little different that would shift what I was kind of initially thinking. Yeah, everything about this narrative worked for me. We're introduced to Rapunzel, who lives deep in the forest. She has a mysterious origin and backstory that the woman that has raised her, Mother Gothel, she goes by another name in this story, but it's Mother Gothel. She does go by Mother Gothel occasionally. Rapunzel has been raised by this woman in the woods. Her origins have been told to her, but are they the real origins? And then, yeah, one day, a prince from the nearby kingdom, he's wandering around in the woods, he's hunting. He hear I can't remember what Rapunzel's doing. Is she singing? Rapunzel's doing something, and he hears her. And yeah, he calls for her hair to be let down. He climbs up her hair. The typical Rapunzel story there. The two of them have instant chemistry. It's a fairy tale. They're going to have instant chemistry. They fall in love, and then he's like, "Hey, sorry, babe. I got to be forced to marry another lady." From another kingdom, to prevent our countries from having war and whatnot. So yeah, this prince, he leaves poor, innocent, naive Rapunzel to go marry this other chick from another kingdom to avoid war. And so, of course, Rapunzel is pretty devastated. She's upset and devastated, and there's some things that kind of transpire from that point as the years kind of go down. So then, yeah, years later, she gets word that the queen has died. The prince comes right on back to her tower, calling her hair down, and the two of them hook back up, and he's like, "Hey, babe, I want to make you my queen. Is that okay?" And Rapunzel is like, "Yeah, I'll be your queen." So this is where the Rapunzel part of the story kind of ends, and then we start going into the Snow White territory. The prince who is now the king, I think I forgot that part of the narrative. The prince who is now the king, he did have a daughter with his wife before she died, Snow White. So Rapunzel becomes the stepmother of Snow White. You guys, wow. And her and Snow White are kind of initially tight for a little bit, but things kind of start going through, and Rapunzel, as the years start going by and she's not providing the king with an heir, and her beauty is slowly slipping away as she's aging, she gets more and more obsessed with her beauty. And yet she keeps constantly going to her magical mirror that the Mother Gothel character gave her. She keeps going to the mirror saying, "Hey, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" Y'all know this spiel. And for the longest time, the mirror does say, "Hey, Rapunzel, you're the fairest in all the land." But yeah, the day he says Snow White is the fairest in all the land, all hell breaks loose. So, yeah, I'll kind of end it right there. I kind of gave the big, huge bulk of the plot because a lot of that is already very familiar to most people, you know? It's just the way how Carolyn Turgeon weaves it all quite nicely together. And yeah, what she does with the ending. You know, we all kind of know the classic Snow White story, you know, with the poison apple and the huntsman and all of that. So how is all of that going to go through? How do we get Rapunzel, the young, vibrant, innocent, naive Rapunzel, how do we get that version of her to become the wicked, evil stepmother that we know from the classic story? And yeah, should we think of her as a wicked, evil stepmother at the end of the day? And that's another thing that this book is tackling. It's also like a feminist retelling as well. It's about these two women, Snow White and Rapunzel, and their stories. The things that are kind of starting to pull them apart, that they need to not let that happen, you know? So yeah, this is a nice little feminist retelling as well, with the paths of these two women and who becomes the heroine and who becomes the villain. Let me put it this way. The book is not seeking to totally vilify Rapunzel / the evil stepmother. You know what I mean? She's not seeking to totally vilify her. She's seeking to really make you sympathize and understand that point of view. Another aspect of this book that I liked was kind of this sort of historical backdrop. This book, from kind of what I was picking up, this book does not take place in our real world. It did seem really highly fictional still, but it's still heavily influenced by things like medieval culture and medieval religion, because in this world there's still religion that people look at for guidance and just spiritual stuff, and that's the way of life. But yeah, the Mother Gothel character and Rapunzel, they practice more in like paganism, you know, and back in the medieval period, paganism was often considered, oh, that means you're a witch, we're going to burn you or hang you or do whatever they did to witches, you know, all the bad things. So I like that this novel was exploring that kind of sort of historical backdrop as well, even though this was still all fictional, kind of putting in those medieval concepts of witches and paganism and religion and whatnot, and just yeah, kind of the treatment of women as well during that time period, because it was mostly women that was seen that way, because a lot of women, especially healers, they would go out and get herbs and certain plants, you know, but then yeah, people would see this, oh, they're practicing witchcraft, they're going to put a spell on me, they're going to kill me, kill our crops. So what I'm trying to ultimately say at the end of the day about this book, like I said, it's not the world's most greatest literature, but I still found it really unique and interesting, and it's very short. It gets to the point, let me put it that way, it gets to the point of this fairy tale retelling, and it mashes up these two completely different stories in such wonderfully fascinating, unique ways that I just absolutely loved. And I walked out of this book just really pleasantly surprised with it. And I find it still really memorable for the most part, because I thought I was going to finish this book and it would just be really forgettable and really generic, and I think it's worthwhile if you have the time and energy to pick this up. Maybe if you can find it at a used bookstore or something. I definitely think this is worth your while if you love fairy tale retellings and you're kind of looking for something a little different that does stick to the fairy tales that you love but still kind of spins them out in unique ways. So you guys, that is it for my review of The Fairest of Them All. In the comments below, have you guys read this book? Do you plan on reading it? Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.